Oh, I decided I'm gonna start dancing outside the box. I know on the camera you're supposed to stay here, but I'm gonna break some rules. I need some new dance moves.
I love that quote already.
Yeah.
Dancing outside of the box,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I love
So
that.
great. How are you doing?
I am well, laughing a little bit because tech issues, right?
Right?
And it's kind of been that way all day with almost everybody I've been on with. So, does not surprise me that you got kicked off the internet right at
Mm,
showtime.
that's
Um,
interesting.
right? With
Yeah.
everything that's been going on, it's
Mm.
like, all right, do you think we should take a deep breath and just get grounded here? So delighted to see you,
Yes.
my friend.
Yes. Super excited
So
to be here.
delighted.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great. Grateful. I've been working on my hydration. I saw this video that was like your liver needs 4 cups, your skin needs 4 cups, and she's filling up these things. I'm like, do I drink that much water? And so that's what I've been thinking about. What about you?
Oh, I know I don't drink that much water.
Yeah. Okay.
I need to. I have been really having a good time with my hot tea right now. And
Mm,
so, that's my go to when a lot is going on, and a lot has been going on. So,
yeah.
yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Should we kick this show off and get ready
Let's
to
do
rock
it.
and roll? All right,
Let's
let's
do
do
it.
it.
Let's do it. Hi, ladies. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling author. I'm the founder of Shalo Glow, an all natural, handmade personal products company that helps people with dry skin glow from head to toe. I am your champion for self care, business care, and intentional wellness.
Hi, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co founders of Women Connected in Wisdom Community.
Yeah, we like to get together every week for intentional conversations about how to
Yeah.
be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. Like, how do we do this?
Questions that need answers.
Right?
Yeah.
As we get started today, I want to give a shout out to my friend Jessica, who's
Mm,
down in Miami, Florida. We
mm,
were on a conversation this morning, and she was telling me that she loves how we dance it in and
thank you,
our
Jessica.
energy around different topics. So,
Yeah.
if Jessica is listening today, hey, Jessica, so glad
Yeah.
that you're a part of Women Connected in Wisdom.
So glad. And that's you asked me how I've been doing. That's really what it's been this past week, right? The past 2 weeks have been crazy, Christine, with the amount
Hmm.
of things to deal with, right? And then we had the opening of the community on Sunday, and Brandy shares that she listened to our podcast to teach herself how to talk again. And that when she was younger,
Right,
she had a situation, had another situation in 2017, and this podcast has helped her. So
right.
getting that feedback, hearing about Jessica in Miami, loving our dances. And I'm like, what else do I do? Do we need to do this? And Jessica's like, yes. So thank you so much,
Right.
ladies. Yes.
Well, and just, in interplay, we have a saying
Mm,
about never underestimate the body's need for affirmation or
mm,
reassurance, right?
okay.
So, sometimes we're in such an individualistic culture here in the
Yes.
United States,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Hmm.
and that whole pull yourself self up by the bootstraps mentality.
Right.
Bootstraps, not bootstraps. Let me be clear. I am a Texas girl.
They do
There
look like
are
strips,
they are
little
bootstraps.
strips on the
Straps.
side. Yeah.
Now I've completely confused myself. But
Right.
that whole thing
Yeah.
that we forget, like, at our core,
Hmm.
people want to be loved and accepted.
Yeah.
And so just check it in with each other, y'all, because there's been a lot lately. There's been a lot in the news. There's been a lot personally. We
Yeah.
were just doing a we were just doing a coffee and chat with a future guest who y'all are going to love.
Hmm.
And she's a therapist. And she does, I noticed, I don't know if you caught it, she does
What?
the same thing I do. Like when she pays attention to when her clients come in,
Hmm.
and when there's a theme, like it's been a particularly hard day, or it's
Yeah.
been a particular, because I that often helps me.
Mhm.
Like when I sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm just off. Well, often like
It was, yes, everybody.
every 10 people I met with that day were off. So we,
Yeah.
yes, to the individual, but also to
Yes.
the big body, right? To
Yes.
the
Yes.
energy of the big body and
Mhm.
community and the world, and how all that works together. So I think about that right before we got on. We got the news that Tina Turner has passed away,
Yes.
and
Rest in peace, Tina Turner.
yeah, rest in peace. And just so grateful for her music and her style and her energy and her activism. She was an unintentional advocate for women getting out of domestic violence. When her book came out, and when she really was authentic and talked about a 14-year abusive relationship,
Yeah.
and how when she got out of that relationship, she was financially decimated, which
Mm.
a lot of women are when
Hmm.
they're coming through divorce or abusive relationships. And
Right.
that's one piece sometimes of why women stay longer, because of the way our systems are set up, and the way that yeah, it's really hard when you're trying to
Yeah.
break free of something like that. And so with her book and her public persona, sharing that and being authentic, I know that she impacted and changed a lot of lives. So,
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say, her bravery.
mhm,
It's not easy to leave a situation like that. And
mhm.
not only did she leave, but everybody knows who this person is, who this person was to her. And that's a huge platform. So I would think about the compound difficulties of that. And recently I watched one of the documentaries on her life. And she was like, I've moved past it. I just want other people to move past it. I want to live my life. And I hope that she was able to do that and thoroughly enjoy her time after all the hard work that she had put in her career.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And she moved to Switzerland, and right? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
So much. So much. And I think about the energy, right? The bravery for the situation, the energy for the performance. I think about lifelong fitness. I want my thighs to be,
Right? I think about her
yeah.
dancing in those heels. I
Yes.
was always like, even when I was younger, I couldn't do
Yes.
that. I'm like, good gravy. That's some talent.
Hey, and let's give some credit for the fact that this camera couldn't keep up with her. I saw this
Right?
video and the camera was like, it was off and she was moving on the stage. So, yeah. Yeah, I love it, and I hope that she thoroughly enjoyed her life.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Just lifting that queen up, because she was.
And we're talking about occupational wellness today. And that's definitely what I think about when I think about working a job in the city every night and day, right? What are we
Right?
gonna do? How are we gonna do it? Is occupational wellness. And what does that
Right?
look like? You might think this person performing is having a great life and oh, you want to be like them, but do you? Is that really, be careful what you ask for, right? What would it look like for you to have occupational wellness instead of looking at this other person that's far away and comparing what can we really do in our life to get there?
Right? Will you give our listeners the definition of occupational wellness?
Absolutely. So, and again, this is from the Women Connected in Wisdom glossary, right? Occupational wellness represents living in the purpose, passion, and productivity in one's chosen profession. This includes work life balance, as a fulfilling and productive professional life is fitting to weave together with a healthy personal life.
Mm, I love it.
Yeah. And for me right now, I'm thinking about the personal and professional, coming over into the businesses has been beautiful. And I love how if I feel like I need time, like we said, the energy's been, and sometimes you might feel like the energy's been off or a lot of stuff is going on. In that moment, it's not, oh, all this stuff is working against me. That's not how I think, right? In an abundance mindset, I'm like, okay, these things are working for me. What's the lesson? Um, but I love the freedom to be able to stop. Let me stop for a second. If I feel like I'm kind of off, not only take a deep breath and center in that moment, but maybe I just need to stop for the day, and I have the freedom to be able to say that.
Absolutely. I think that, that word balance is always a little tricky sometimes. Because
Mhm.
when I think about solopreneurs and entrepreneurs I know, and especially when they're women, um, it's kind of laughable, right? Unless because of how much there is to do, right? But yes, to taking a break, yes, to resting. I was reading the manifesto on rest. Let me pull up her name because
Ooh,
it goes with occupational wellness. It goes
definitely.
with what we're talking about, and it's the woman who did the NAP ministry, Trisha. Hang on,
Okay.
Trisha Hersey. I think is how you say her last name.
Trisha Hersey.
Hersey,
Got
and
it.
she is the founder of the NAP Ministry. And her latest book is called "Rest is Resistance: A Manifesto." And I was listening to it on the way home from the alternate routes weekend that I ended up driving to instead of flying to. So it was a pretty long haul that I wasn't. I was like, oh great, I've got tons of audiobooks I want to catch up with, right, on my
Right.
list.
Yeah.
But this one was all about resting and taking a moment and being tired. So I started getting tired as I was listening to her book. So I had to
Mhm.
stop and pop over to something else. But the United States especially, and other countries, but the United States especially is set up for people to work, 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 work. Right now with this whole debt ceiling crisis, they're contemplating raising Social Security age um, to be in the 70s. And, I know a lot of really cool 70 and 80-year olds. So that's not the issue. But it is that culture of not resting, right? It's that culture of when do you get to pause? And if you're lucky, you have 2 weeks of vacation a year,
Hmm.
right? But a lot of people don't. I don't know the statistics on that right now.
That's a great
But
question. And it's still not long enough. 2 weeks
mm,
is not
right?
long enough. So I want to, if we can, I want to pause real quick because I think you said
Sure.
something huge, right? You said you were listening to this audiobook and it made you feel a certain way and you switched to something else. I think that's huge in occupational wellness. What did you switch to? What was the difference for you?
Oh, that's a good question. What did I pop over to? Oh, you know what I switched to?
What?
Because I was taking a restroom break, and so
Hmm.
the radio came on first, and it
Yeah.
was NPR, and it was talking about our brains,
Mm,
and it was talking about flooding or fueling. I
hmm.
believe that's what they were. I wrote it down because I want to go back and listen to the whole episode because I had missed some of it, and
Hmm.
it was talking about how we influence people and the way that works. So what I switched to was something that would got me in my brain, right?
Right.
Because this
Right.
rest is the manifesto had me thinking about my body. It had me think
Exactly.
which things I love, things I teach. But
Hmm.
when you are really tired, sometimes it's hard to drop down into that. And I
Hmm.
think at this point I was probably maybe 4 hours into a road trip.
Yeah.
So and trying to get home in time for our community lunch. So I
Yes.
think when I needed to get back, like,
Into your head, which is not usually what we say.
right? But to keep myself alert, that and the ice
Yes.
water, right? It
Yes.
had
Yes.
me thinking, it really did have me thinking about occupational wellness because I was thinking about what they were saying in regards to our business and how you start
Mhm.
like,
Mhm. Ooh,
how can
ooh,
I
ooh.
apply that
Yeah,
info,
of
right?
course.
So
Yeah,
thanks for that question. I hadn't really thought
of
about it.
course. And of course, and we talked about habit stacking, right? When we were talking about heart math. And that's the way I've been thinking about it since then. And since this year, uh, March, when I started doing my unofficial research, right, on women's history and women working, I've been talking about Playboy and all this stuff, right? I have to stack it. I have to stack it with laughter. This past week, I watched Zarna, this female Indian comedian. Hilarious. She was talking about, guess what she was talking about, Christine?
Oh, tell me.
Being a loudmouth American woman that uses her voice and getting paid for it. I said, that's my type of woman. So shout out to Zarna, right?
How do you spell her name?
Zarna.
All right.
Yeah.
And where
And
was her special at?
I believe it was on Hulu.
Okay, cool.
Yes, and I loved it. It was relevant. The comedians do a great job. As a group of speakers, they do a great job at bringing up current events in a way that's I was gonna say palatable, right? In a way that people can receive it in an easy way. I loved how she brought her family on at the end of it. Usually we might hear about their family, but the comedian usually doesn't bring their beautiful family on stage with them, right? And one of my favorite things too, she mentioned was how in America, when we're sad, we get into a tub full of drinkable water and just sit there. And of course she said it was smoother the way she said it, but it was pretty funny.
Oh,
And we
yeah.
do. And I will
Guilty.
again in my lifetime. I will.
Guilty,
Yeah. And
right?
so we talk about occupational wellness, and with the things that have been difficult, it's helped me to stack it with laughter or lighter things. But also take baths and gratitude and things that we talk about, you know. So that's what I've been thinking about this week with Zarna and that high note.
Is it the one in a billion
Yes.
special? All
Mhm.
right, cool. I'll put a
Yep.
link to it in the show notes. I love comedy,
Yeah.
and it is one of my go-tos often.
I
And
don't think
so
I knew
thank
that
you for that.
actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Joe and I, well, it's one of the things Joe and I will watch together.
Mhm.
Because I'm not a huge TV watcher.
Right.
I like to read.
Mhm.
love to read books. But
Mhm.
he loves to watch movies and shows, and
Yeah.
so it's one of the places that we intersect. That
Yeah.
if he's like, watch a show with me. Um, you know, I think I've said it on the podcast before, but during the pandemic, especially, I watched more TV than I probably have in my lifetime,
Mhm.
and I was watching reality TV shows where people make things because watching people's dreams come true just lights me up, right?
Yeah.
And some of
Yes.
those contests, the
Mhm.
glass blowers
I
and the
love it.
cake makers
Blown
and the
away. Yes.
right and the makeup
Yes.
artists and the
Mhm.
like. I probably watched them
Glow
all
up.
during the
Yeah, that was
pandemic,
my stuff.
right?
Yeah, I watched TV
I
too. I
love
did.
well, and especially when art's involved, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I think about that as professions. I think about that as occupational wellness.
Yes.
We are lucky in the work that we do that we get
Yes.
to create art, right? With social media,
Yes.
with graphics. Like
Mhm.
sometimes people are like, oh, social media. But
Right.
one of my favorite things is like creating those things, right?
Yes.
Creating things that combine visual and music and the written word. And I think about that for me with occupational wellness.
Yeah.
It's got to have a flavor of art in it.
Mm. For me, it's gotta have a flavor of it's always been helping people and
Hmm.
excellence, right? At the Wendy's drive-through, excellence. Okay, it wasn't necessarily about helping people in college, right? But whether it's at Papado training, Top Golf training, all these different management and leadership positions, even though I was great in those systems and had the conversations based on the information they were supposed to get, it always leaned towards, okay, you're a nursing student. Do you have a planner? You know, making sure that they have what they need to be set up
Hmm.
in the job and outside of the job so they can show up as their best. And so now, when we talk about purpose, I'm super excited about being able to do Women Connected and the community that's open right now, right? Working on
Right?
the volume two and looking at the amazing authors that we have. The stories are amazing and how they fall together. And again, Brandy and what was the woman's name from? Was it Jessica from Miami?
Oh, Jessica.
And
Yeah,
Jessica,
Jessica. Having a
you know,
conversation with her this morning.
yeah, like I love stuff like that. And then with Shaylo Glow being able to say that I'm on Auburn Avenue and doing the Sweet Auburn Fest and all these amazing things we get to do has been really exciting and fulfilling.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and I know entrepreneurship or solopreneurship is not for everybody, right?
Mm-mm.
Because if you like consistency and you like only doing one thing, mm, not for
Mm-mm.
you. And it's okay. Like I've had friends say to me, "This is not for me,"
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the things in life. Like I talk a lot with my coaching clients and things like that. It's that knowing yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's because one of the things I love is a lot of diversity and a lot of challenges and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of not everything. Like I get bored easy. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of my ADD, but I do
Mm-hmm.
get bored. And so a 9 to 5
Yeah.
where it was the same thing every day wouldn't be my gig.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I worked in organizations and I
Mm-hmm.
worked, I always had roles that had a lot of you got to be doing things. You got to be going where. You got to be,
Yeah.
toot 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 toot. Um, and also speaking. Almost all my roles, you had to be speaking,
Mm-hmm.
and because what's better than getting paid to talk.
Oh. Hello, if you're gonna do it anyways, right? All the people who say that if you've been told that you talk too much, you're probably a speaker, an author. Okay, think about it. Just
Right?
let it simmer. Tell us what
right?
happens. Yeah.
And I mean, I think about this other thing is I think about, because, we talk often about embodiment and being in
Yes.
your body and noticing. And a lot
Mhm.
of times people are like, okay, that's such a catchword. What do you mean? Right.
Mm.
But part of it is, are you having fun? Like really noticing, do you enjoy going in
Mhm.
to the
Like, how
place
did
that you work at? Like how does your body feel
yes. How do
when
you
you're in the
feel?
space,
Yeah, are you
right?
anxious because somebody says, "Hey, can you meet on Thursday?" What does that do? Does that, "Ooh,
Right?
my time," or is it, "Oh, absolutely, I would love to." Which one
Right?
is it? Yeah.
What lights you up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What lights you up? And what keeps you going, right?
Yeah. I always think about what is it? It's the Jay-Z and the Kanye West song, and there's this part, and I think it's Will Ferrell. He's like, "It keeps the people going." And I always think about that part when people say that. But I think that, and so you guys know, if you're listening to this, usually we have a guest. We're about 20 minutes in, right? It's just Christine and I. So you're hanging out with us today, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into this conversation about occupational wellness with you. And you said a couple of different things, Christine, right? You said entrepreneurs, you said solopreneurs. I want us to talk about partnerships because we're not
Mm-hmm.
solopreneurs in Women
Mm-hmm.
Connected in Wisdom or Connected in Wisdom Press. And that is different than a lot of
It
people,
is
right? And
absolutely
and then I want us to talk about more of what you mean when you say it's not for everybody. Like what it I know what I think about, but let's break down what that means. Cause I feel like people struggle with the fact that they think it's too much. They think they're not enough.
right.
They think they're not strong enough. And that is
Right.
not what those things mean. Mm-mm.
No, no. I think it's just when I said it in that regard,
Yeah.
I like. I'll give you a good example.
Mm.
Joe is pretty risk adverse.
Okay.
He likes having a schedule.
Hmm.
He likes having, well, that's not always true, but he likes having that paycheck coming in
It's
when it's
nice.
payday,
It's nice.
right?
Yes.
And so, like, he thinks about, like, would he ever do something with his art? Would he ever do? But he has really made the conscious decision,
Hmm.
not yet. Like I
Okay.
like working for somebody else, and
Yeah.
I like, and he has a really cool job where he gets to make a lot of decisions, and he's not at a desk 9 to 5. He's
Right.
found kind of a he gets to, he's out in the field, and
Yeah.
so then he has a lot of change and dynamic, but he still gets a paycheck coming in,
Right.
twice a month,
And time to
and
himself. He doesn't have
giving
somebody
gratitude for that.
constantly. Yeah.
Right.
That makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So he found a job that was a really good match for him
Mm.
because when he first got out of college, he was a bench chemist and he
Okay.
was tied to the bench 9 to 5, got
Mm.
a 30 or 45-minute lunch break. And he was miserable in that job
Mm.
because he worked with the same group of people every day
Mm.
and he did the same task every day
Mm.
and he was really bored.
Got it.
So this new job, like he gets to meet almost a new person every day. Some of those relationships last over years, but he may not see them but once a month or every 3 months or every 6 months. So there's a lot of variety and there's travel and there's setting his schedule and there's all kinds of freedom
Right.
within the role,
Within the
right?
structure of it. Right.
Within the structure. So I
Yes.
think with entrepreneurs, what you have to know with solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and even partnerships, a lot of times we have to build our own schedules. We have to build our schedule, which you are phenomenal at that. I must say, my
Wow.
friend,
Thank you so much.
you are,
Thank
you
you.
are. And I challenge the heck out of you with it. I know because I am an
That's
improver
great.
and I
Yes.
like to go with the flow
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but yeah, let's talk about that partnership piece because I don't know that it's just if you're in business in partnership, but it could
Hmm.
be in partnership and relationships. It
Yeah.
could just be collaborations.
Right.
Um, I was at the Alternate Roots weekend up in Whitakers, North Carolina.
Oh, did you know
And
my last name used to be Whitaker?
no,
Hmm.
I didn't
Hmm.
know that.
Hmm.
Look at that. Doo, 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 doo.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm listening to you.
No worries. So we're up there, and Amy McCoy, who is an incredible human being, she did this facilitated circle, and she asked these questions, and I wanted to bring them back to us, just you and I. But I love that we're having the conversation on air, and it's about occupational wellness. She asked the questions about what makes a good collaboration, which you could say what makes a good partnership, right? what is your growing edge in collaboration? Or, and I think she asked one other question. What are you looking for in collaboration?
Great questions. So when I think about it, I think a great collaboration is one across all of them is communication, right?
Right.
Because we have to communicate um, from beginning to end throughout the process and when things change. And we know that that happens all the time, right? I would say a great collaboration is also clear and gets the goal accomplished, right? Let's say we collaborate for a week or we collaborate for a podcast. It doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
long. If we were clear on what we were doing, we came, saw, and conquered, then boom. Then I think that's a great collaboration, right? Um, a growing edge is definitely the communication. I found that at both Top Golf and Papado, right? We have huge teams, and the communication is actually more multi-layered and quicker than you think it is, right? And so now coming down into the partnerships with less people, I try to remind myself that, hey, you still need to be talking at certain intervals, right? To make sure that things are clear. So the growing edge is still communication. And I would say another growing edge for me personally is being able to see people's strengths and weaknesses, right? What are my strengths and weaknesses? What do I need to work on? What's right now? How do you prioritize that? And then when we're talking about collaboration, let's use an example of you or I together. What does Christine need to do? What is she amazing at? And then what can I do to make it most effective? And then be clear on that throughout the whole thing. I think is a growing edge, especially as we grow the teams in different places.
Right.
Yeah,
I think I'm always seeking in collaborations and partnership, like the joy and the fun. Like, where are those
that too.
places that you can co create and have fun
Yeah.
and lift each other up and affirm and laugh? Like,
Hmm.
I can't collaborate, or, well, I have in the past, but I will not.
It's a
If
standard, a new
it's a
standard.
shit, like, right?
Yeah.
That I need somebody that has a sense of humor, and
It's a,
that if we need to take a little bit of a left turn for, something that's funny,
yeah,
we can absolutely do it. So,
yes. And
and
just
that, oh, go ahead.
no, please go ahead, finish.
I was just thinking, and that we can laugh at ourselves,
Yeah.
like, and that we can laugh with each other,
Hmm.
because I think no matter what project you're doing or work or things like that, like that ability to laugh
Hmm.
is so joyful to me.
Yeah. And for me, it's been adding joy in every workday, right? So right now with the schedule, part of the day might be Women Connected, part of it might be Shalo Glow. I want to feel joy in both of those situations, right? Not the whole time, and not that I try really strictly to include it, but definitely want to have it in there. I hear what you're saying.
Right. And for
Yeah.
those of y'all currently listening, if you're listening live, shout us a comment. Put it in the chat or the comment section. What do you look for in a collaboration? What
Hmm.
do you look for in a partnership? Today we're talking about occupational wellness, and this is something that everybody I know has had good and bad experiences. Well, almost everybody I know has had a bad experience. I
Hmm.
love to hear the good experiences too. But think back to grade school, or probably junior high or high school, and those group projects, right?
It wasn't, yeah, no, it wasn't. The question, I thought you were going to talk about now. Now we do better, but we do better based on what they used to do at Kennesaw State. Okay, the foolishness. Um,
Y'all, if you're just listening, if y'all could have seen Shannon's head whip around when I said that comment about group projects, I mean, but that's what the reaction of most people is to group projects, right? But I think that is the start of our fear of collaboration.
that's a great point. And I would love to break it down, right? Because I think that what I saw in my undergrad degree was in the class in my minor, and I do believe it was taught by Professor Benjamin. He was amazing. Shout out to Professor Benjamin. It was the closest to a monastery I had ever gone to, right? Which is self-led education. You get to choose what you're gonna focus on. And then because that's how he led the class, that was a class that all of us read the most for. If somebody was able to lead themselves in the motivation to get to the class, I think all the people involved in the project would be invested. But because you have these different levels of investment, you end up with the different levels of contribution, you know? And because of the way that the education system right now in America motivates students, we see how that works out in projects. It's different on the entrepreneur side. If this person is in a business they love, you are in a business that you love, and we're able to be self-motivated and come together, that's when I feel like those joyous, laughable, effective collaborations happen. If it's, hey, I'm doing this collaboration for my job, but I really don't care, or that social environment puts me in a certain position in mind space, headspace, and then I have to go somewhere else, that's where we start to see stuff kind of shift.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's also, I mean, it goes down to choice, right? I
Hmm.
love how you said that because in those group projects, there wasn't a lot of choice. You were
Mm-mm.
assigned, right?
Yes.
Brandy, hello, Brandy Lee
Hey,
says
Brandy.
laughing is a great stress reliever and needed when working or partnering with others.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And parenting too. Brandy is a
Hmm.
parenting expert and an author about parenting. And yeah, it has saved my bacon and my kids' bacon multiple times.
Hmm. I think it's important. I'm watching, so one of the things I do right now, I do watch more TV now than I used to. And that is in order to balance all the work that I'm doing, right? Learning things for three businesses, setting up systems, doing stuff for the first time, all of this stuff. Right now, we're watching Dragon Ball Z, right? And one of the lessons that Kami has on his planet, when he's planning people after they pass away, when they're waiting to come back to the battlefield, right, is to have a joke. It is to laugh. And so, did I say the wrong person? Oh, I said Kami. Excuse me for the Dragon Ball Z experts, King Kai. So I love that they included that, because a lot of the scenes can be really dramatic. You think about what are the important things when you go to war. I usually don't think about laughter, but through everything, just like rest, I feel like the joy and the inclusion of that is really resistance, and it's necessary.
Absolutely. And I love that you have a fact checker like on site right
Right.
now.
Right.
Like
You see
that.
that? Collaboration.
Collaboration. I
Yes.
love it. I love
Yes.
it a lot. I think about, I think about the joys of collaboration. I think about the challenges of collaboration because,
Hmm.
people are human.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to somebody this week and they were talking about, oh, people are just showing up with all their humanness, right? And we do. Like I think about having grace for each other when
Yes.
that happens.
It's
Um,
important.
but also, like we talk about in Still Point, about having boundaries, about
Hmm.
saying yes or no,
Hmm.
and what works for ourselves. And I think about all those things swirl when I
Yeah.
think about collaboration and partnership, and I think about occupational wellness. Like
Yeah.
what? Well, let's take it back to this.
Okay.
When you think about your favorite job, when you think about your favorite team,
Hmm.
what were the factors that brought you that smile? That brought you
Winning.
that winning?
Yes.
All right, say more.
Oh, because listen, I moved a lot, Christine, when I was growing up, right? And my dad did a great job at keeping me in the same school. And I said, if I were to ever transfer, I went to Hiram. There was only one other band I would be in, and that was Woodland at the time. They were magnificent. And so I like to win. And I said, if I went to another school, I'm not in band. I'm just not doing it. I'm not, and not to say that I have to be the winner. We have realistic expectations, things like that. But when you ask me which teams I was on, I always go back to band. And that was one of the things I loved about it. But we won because of our organization, because of the leadership that we were under, Dr. Davis at the time. And I do believe that he helped me be a great leader, so all of that plays a part. And then that's a group. And then if I'm talking about a job, I would really say Women Connected in Wisdom, because I feel like it blesses my heart. I love that with cancer being such a very important detail in my story, it doesn't always have to be about my very close relationship with other people who have had cancer. It can be about Shannon Ivy and her actual personal story and the story that she waited to share, and she trusted our platform and our book and our group of women to feel safe enough to share it. And I love that we were able to present that, Brandy Lee's, testimony. I love that. And when I went to TED Talk Atlanta. If you guys do not know, Christine was able to give me this ticket from her friend, and one of the speakers had this, it actually, it wasn't a speaker there. Yes.
I just want to say I didn't gift you the ticket. Andrea did. I just
Mm,
facilitated the connection.
thank you
So
for the
Andrea
clarity.
is one of our listeners and
Yes.
was at our conference last year, and she had just reached out and said,
Yeah.
"Hey, I've got this extra ticket. Do you think anybody at Women Connected in Wisdom would want it?"
Mm,
And I was like, "Oh, I know somebody who'd want it."
yes. And I had a great time. Thank you so much, Andrea. And if you don't listen to this, I need to email her. I'll email Andrea and tell her thank you. I had such a good time. Um, where were we? We were talking about, oh, so they had put on the screen a TED talk from another city, and this woman from New Orleans had white or made a chalkboard on the side of this building. It was a black chalkboard. And the tagline was, "Before I die, I want to blank." Right. So mine was, I want to create 100, I want to be able to help 100 women become authors. And we're getting there, right, with volume two and volume three, and then narrators, and then the passive income from what we're doing. So the fact that I can have that as a goal and connect so many women from around the world with personal stories of victoriousness, right? But also sharing their resources that actually work to other people who need it. I will say this is my favorite job.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I
What
love
about you?
it.
When you think about
Um,
groups or jobs, what do you think about?
well, I think about the people.
Yeah,
And I think about the
definitely.
laughter, and I think
Yeah.
about the connections,
Mhm.
and I think about the affirmation, like the people
Mhm.
seeing me
Yeah.
and seeing and lifting me up. And I mean, and
Mhm.
there were some hard jobs. Like, I mean, worked at a psychiatric hospital one time. That was
It's not
not
easy.
an easy job.
No,
One
it's
of the
not.
best teams I'd ever worked with, and it
Mm,
was about
right.
connections, right? um I think about our work together. Like, we do a lot of work and
Yeah,
we
we
have a
do.
really good time, right?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
I think about all of that. I think, sis, but the connections. And I mean,
Yeah,
not shocking with us being
right.
women connected.
Hell, like, we've really been doing this. That's why it made perfect sense. We might as well make an organization that does this because we connect so many people anyways.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And being able to share resources just thrills me. Like, even
Yeah.
something as simple as, hey, I know somebody that wants that,
Yes.
that just lights me up. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that is ridiculously fun.
Mhm. What
So,
was the third question? So we talked about, what do you look for in collaboration?
hmm
What is a successful collaboration, right? What was the
hmm
third question that she
what is your
asked?
growing edge in collaboration?
Did we answer all of them? I
You
think I
answered
answered.
it about
Okay.
communication. I
Mhm.
think my growing edge, and this is not, anybody who knows me is not going to be surprised by
Mm,
this one, is not doing too much.
mhm.
Like,
Me too.
I like you too, absolutely. Like,
Mm,
I like to do a lot of things.
mhm.
And I often don't realize I'm over capacity until I'm over
Mm,
capacity.
mhm,
Like,
mhm,
I'm kind of like, I need to run right at just too busy.
mhm,
It's the way my system works.
mhm,
But then there's a point where you tip off where you're really ineffective.
mhm, mhm.
so I think my growing edge is recognizing that ahead of time, because I do
Yeah,
know that's stressful for my collaborators, like, because I have a packed schedule.
yeah,
And so I think that's my piece, and just really knowing where that edge is.
yeah. So I think that's a perfect segue into part of what we were talking about, right? So partnership, why entrepreneurship might be for people, this conversation that people have, right? Because I feel
hmm
like it's almost a, it sounds like a have and have nots question, to own a business or to work for somebody else. And if you choose to not be an owner, you're lesser than.
No,
No, definitely
no.
not, right? Because
You
again,
might
there's all
actually have
these.
more money depending at what stage of the business you're in.
That's true. And it definitely depends on the stage. I think we should break it down, right? Because eventually it's not like that. But right now, it might be like that. So I think that when I think about to be an entrepreneur or not, right? One, to be an employee, I need people on the team. I look forward to employees, right? Not everybody's going to be a business owner. Not everybody has to be responsible for all of the consideration. For example, when I stepped into management, right, from being a server. As a server, you think you know everything that the managers do. You think you can tell them how much they make and what they're not doing. And then you get to the management and you're like, "Oh, Got it. And then as a floor manager, you think you know, and you think you can tell the servers about what managers do. And then in the kitchen, you end up as a kitchen manager, and it's like, oh, I had no idea, even still, you know. And I really feel like that's life. As you step into the different levels or seasons, you realize that you can only understand to the limit of your perspective, right? And so sometimes that's a beautiful thing. Sometimes you just want to be the server and able to take care of these people, their food and their drinks, and not worry about all this inventory, right? Sometimes you just want to be the employee that can clock in and tell me what to do, please. What do you need for the next few hours? And I can go home. But instead, being a business owner, you have to worry about the product, right? Or the service. You have to worry about the legal, then you have to worry about the finances. Then the communication is not just something that we like to do, it's a whole part of the business, right? Um, and then the team, of course. And so that's a lot when we're talking about past just a little bit past too busy. How do we get there? Because there's only so many hours in a day, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a solopreneur, you're working on and in your business. And then as a partner, we're working on and in our businesses, but now we have the opportunity, right, to balance the strengths and weaknesses and schedules and things that change. And consistently, what does that look like, especially as logistics change, right? You go from, again, Chalo Glow, making this stuff well, I still make it myself, but having this stuff in my trunk all the time and going to different places. We had the little containers that I bought at the hair store. They say it reminds them of Chinese food, right? With no label on it. That's how we started. Like not even ingredients list, no
I
name, no nothing,
remember.
right? And now we're labeled in a retail space, and so the logistics are different.
And to bring up that point, and we talk
Yeah.
about it often in our classes, in our community, and with each other. Some you got to start. You got to start somewhere.
Yes, you do.
And oftentimes, I know with some of my clients and watching myself, like perfectionism often gets in the way, right?
Hmm.
And if we can get over that, get over ourselves, right? And we want to produce high quality products. We want to produce, we want to strive for excellence.
Right.
And if you wait until everything's perfect, you may never start.
Mm-mm.
And so that's what I want to say and encouraging in any
Yeah.
occupational wellness or like partnership. Like if you have a dream or a vision, like try it,
Yeah.
start it.
Yeah. Yep.
Go ahead.
And I think that's the difference, right? It's the line between I need to be more prepared, or there's things that I need to do,
Hmm.
and this doesn't feel right in my body. This is not what I should
Right.
be doing. That's
Right.
completely different, you know,
Absolutely.
and being able to work through that when you try, that's when you find out and you can quickly say, "Oh, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go
Right.
over here." And that's also a healthy next step.
I also think when we're talking about collaborations and partnership, Brene
Yeah.
Brown often says clarity is kindness.
Mhm.
So be as clear as you can
Yeah.
with yourself, your expectations,
Mhm.
what you need in a
Mhm.
partnership. I
Mhm.
mean, I think one of the things I love about our business partnership is that we can say, "Hey, this is what I really need."
Mhm.
Or, if we check in with each other and we're scheduled for a 4-hour work session and we're down and out, we start with taking a break.
Yeah. Or we might not even do it. We might say, "Okay, I'll see you
Right?
in 2
We might
days."
reschedule, right?
Yes. Yes.
So being able to be body wise and check
Mhm.
in and communicate that, right?
Yeah.
In a culture that doesn't always appreciate it. Like in a
Mm-mm.
culture, because I was raised basically, unless, a limb is falling off and you have a bone or blood sticking out, you keep going,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Which a lot of people were raised that way. And
Definitely.
so that aspect of if you have the privilege and the choice
Mhm.
of setting your schedule or being able to check in with yourself or
Yeah.
call in, if you've got some personal leave, to check in with yourself and make decisions from that place of your overall well-being.
Mhm. And when we talk about rest as resistance, for me, it's not just, oh, I stepped into my businesses, now I have time. Even as an employee, even as a very busy person,
Mhm.
if we're not making it, that shows me that we're missing a part in the system. It's not, oh, we go to the next cycle of the system and we're doing our actions
Right?
again and we can skip it.
Right?
That means that we never completed the first one.
Before we jump off with occupational wellness,
Yes.
I want to give a shout out to all our teachers,
Hmm.
especially Coach Co, who's one of
Yes.
our Women Connected in Wisdom.
Yes. Sati.
Sati, like all our listeners that are teachers, that are
Yes.
parents. I mean, parents, we're going to take a deep breath because you're about to go for it for summer, right?
Yes.
But our teachers, thank you for everything that you do. And I
Thank you so
know
much.
that this time of year, if you're wrapping up grades, if you're wrapping up that last week of school, it can be a challenge.
Hmm.
And it's right before you have a transition
Yeah.
and hopefully get to have a break and
Yes, please.
rest, right?
Please rest. Yeah.
Right?
And again, that's what I've been thinking about. It's if it's everything is a circle, and after I get done with, again, I think about it as a cycle of tasks now, right? If I have not rested, then I never finish the cycle. I can never start again because it's not included. So when we talk about maintaining our wellness and wisdom in action, you absolutely, I give you permission, right? If you want to write a permission slip, this is part of what I want us to do in the community. You have permission to rest in the middle of everything, right? To ask for what you need from the people that you're working for, and then see how that feels in your body and see what needs to happen next so we can be sustainable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic, when I did wellness retreats on the
Yeah.
regular, I have permission slips.
Hmm.
I have a form for us that
Yeah.
when we do our Women Connected in Wisdom retreat next
Perfect.
year
Yeah.
in 2024, we will
Yeah.
have those in
Hmm.
everybody's goodie bags that
I
they
love
have
it.
permission, right?
Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, speaking
Yes.
of wisdom in action, my friend, what are you thinking?
Occupational wellness. What am I doing? I'm going this week. I am working on standard operating procedures. I'm working on our second book, volume two, right? Following up with our editors. And we also have the community open. So I will say, what I was thinking about with the systems was make the plan and then work the plan. So set it up and then see if it works.
Mm,
Hmm.
I like it.
What about you?
I am doing a lot of marketing and
Hmm.
for a lot of programs that we have coming up. We
Yes.
have our community that's open, which we'll put a link to that in our show notes. I
Mm.
have an online Secrets of Interplay for Helping Professionals. I have an in-person Secrets of Interplay in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I have the playathon. Oh, I want to give that shout out. Like the playathon is happening right now for Interplay.
Yes.
So there are, oh my gosh, like there every day there's multiple offerings from people all over the world, and your first class is free, and then you can check into other classes. But I want to put that in the show notes and encourage people to check it out because it's so fun. And Marla Durden, who has been
Mm.
on our show before,
Yes, she has.
who is a Women Connected in Wisdom like superstar,
Hmm.
she was the one that organized it. And
Mm.
so it's fabulous. And so I want to give, so all of that,
Yeah.
my wisdom in action is to connect and communicate
I love
because
it.
I have a lot of really fun events and I need to tell folks about
And communicate.
them.
I love it. And I will change mine because I feel like it's kind of make the plan or you know how we are about hashtags. I think I want to change it to hashtag connected in business.
Mm,
Yes,
I
because
love
that
it.
is right, the second tier of our community.
Right?
And that's really what I feel like has helped me get here, whether it's the conversations with you, the conversations with Sino, my other business partner, conversations with Manifestation Mondays, and working through the challenges and the goals has been amazing. So, yes, connected in
Right.
business.
I'm just so grateful. Right?
Yeah.
I I always get sad when our guests can't make it for a reason just because I love
Mhm.
meeting incredible people. And we want to give
Yes.
all good vibes and wishes to our guest who wasn't able to
Yes.
make it today.
Yes.
Kind of last minute thing going on.
Mhm.
But I really enjoy just chatting and catching up with you and talking about occupational wellness,
Yeah,
especially
me too.
since we spend so much of our working life together.
Yeah, we do. It's been good.
Right?
Yes.
So, for our listeners, we'd love to hear in the comments what you're working on for your wisdom in action this week. Give us a shout out. Check out the show notes. Check out the website, womenconnectedinwisdom.com. We'd love to have you join us and be connected and let us know what you need, what you're looking for.
Yes. And I want to go a little bit deeper in that too while you talk about the community, because we say that every week, right? But this
Mhm.
is different. We are officially open and we were going to close it this week, but we actually decided to keep it open for you guys until June 4th. So it will close after that. If you've kind of been on the website and thinking about it, even for the past 2 years, you've been able to see different stuff.
Mhm.
But so you know, it will be closing after June 4th. So if you want the support in the 8 dimensions of wellness, if you would like the support in business and in action, we have that available for you.
Speaking of June 4th, what's happening on
Yes.
June 4th?
Oh, so many things. So, we're going to have a Women Connected in Wisdom book signing. This is for volume one. So, you can come and meet all those amazing authors. We may not have all 18, but we will let you know who will be there as we get our RSVPs. That's going to be at 228 Sweet Auburn Avenue. That's the Spark Lab that Shaylo Glow has our retail space in. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to have books, we're going to have wellness, different events, and that'll be from 3 to 5.
I love it.
Yes.
I
Me
love
too.
it.
I'm super
And I
excited.
am super excited to be in
Yes.
that space with you and meeting folks. We hope you'll come by and join us if you're in the
Yes.
Atlanta area.
Mhm.
And yeah, anything else we need to shout out
Yes.
before we're taking off?
Yes, I have one more thing for you guys, and we keep changing it. And we do this, like we said, we have realistic expectations, right? So we have space in the timeline for when things change. We said the door was closing to be an author in volume two. It is still open. Okay, so if you have a story you want to share, you want to share a resource, email us at Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. Actually, is it the CW?
They
Isn't
could
it?
do either. They
That's
could
true.
do CW Press at
Hmm.
womenconnectedinwisdom.com.
Right. Or Women Connected in Wisdom podcast at gmail.com. And we'll
Mm-hmm.
get that to include you in the book if you have a story you would like to lift up. And again, volume three has about 35 people. So if it's not volume two, we have space for you on volume four, but the door is open if you would like to be included.
Mm, that's so
Hmm.
awesome. I just
Yes.
love all the ways we're dancing through life right now.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Well, okay, ladies, thank you so much for joining us for episode 116 on occupational wellness. We'll see you live next week at 5. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole.